ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. We cannot start without asking God's blessing on our proceedings. And so we ask Pastor Howard Smith of the North Street Seventh-day Adventist Church to come with the invocation this afternoon.
Shall we bow our heads for prayer? Our mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark that never fails. We have come to you this afternoon, O Lord, for this very special function. And we are truly a nation that embraces the fact that we were made in your image. I thank you so much for the way in which the leaders of our country have been doing things to make lives better for the people of this nation. And even as we have this very special ceremony today, we ask that your Holy Spirit would be with us, be with those who will be presenting, be with the system, and may all things be to your honor and your glory. For we ask these mercies in no other name but Jesus. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated, everybody. Wow. We know it's summertime because it's quite hot, but we like the reception from the people of Central Kingston. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you. Boy, and a nice, wonderful. Allow me to start by doing the salutations. And because we want to have a brief but effective ceremony, may I ask then that the other speakers who come will just adopt the salutations, and then we'll get right into our speeches and do the big thing, the groundbreaking this afternoon. So, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica and the Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Mr. Donovan Williams, the Member of Parliament, your Member of Parliament for Kingston Central. Mrs. Arlene Williams, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Mr. Richard Cargill, the Senior Director in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Mrs. Judith Robb Walters, the Chair of the Project Oversight Committee and Principal Finance Officer in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Pastor, thank you so much. Howard Smith of the North Street Seventh-day Adventist Church, thank you so much for invoking the Lord's presence with us this afternoon. Ms. Doreen Palmer, representing the beneficiaries, S&G Road Surfacing Materials Limited, and other project partners, members of the new social housing project team from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and importantly, the people of Central Kingston. I want you to give yourselves a round of applause and the Prime Minister a very warm welcome to the constituency of Central Kingston this afternoon. You know, big things happening in Jamaica, you know. It's not about what we're saying, but others overseas looking on are saying that, boy, Jamaica is becoming a developed country. One of the main things that's driving this development is the Prime Minister's vision for infrastructure development and ensuring that your housing prospects are improved. Today, we are absolutely pleased to be here to deal with a groundbreaking and contract signing ceremony for East Palms here in Central Kingston. And let me tell you, the Prime Minister always says that there are people who are deserving. So you can't bad mind those who are going to be beneficiaries because you know they are needing of this benefit. So give the people who will benefit a round of applause too. A lady who's been doing a fantastic job in terms of presiding over the ministry is the permanent secretary. She makes sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed to ensure that this project can stand up to scrutiny. Give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Mrs. Arlene Williams, who will give an overview of the project.
Thank you so much, Madam Master of Ceremonies. Good afternoon, everyone. I know the protocol has been established, but allow me to specially recognize Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, as well as Mr. Donovan Williams, MP, Kingston Central. And you would have heard the persons whom Naomi has spoken about before, members of the media, indeed members of the security forces, distinguished ladies and gentlemen all, a pleasant good afternoon to you. I don't hear you say good afternoon back to me at all. Yes, thank you so much. That response is very important. And so just permit me a little, because we've been running all morning. PM's morning started off very, very early as we discussed matters pertinent to the country. And you now know that we are in the hurricane season, which began June 1, and it goes up to when? Yes, you know. And so we were discussing that this morning with Minister Mackenzie and a whole host of stakeholders. And then we just handed out 2 housing units under the new social housing program to beneficiaries who, as usual, were deemed most deserving. So permit me just a few minutes to tell you about the new social housing program, and it will contextualize very well our groundbreaking ceremony today. And so in November 2018, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister and Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation, announced that the government of Jamaica would be implementing a social housing initiative under the Housing Opportunity Production and Employment Program, HOPE. The program was developed to improve the housing condition of the country's poor and indigent population. The social housing initiative under the housing component of HOPE has been named the new social housing program. And so the program employs 3 modalities. Today, the houses that I mentioned to you that we handed over earlier were under the provision of indigent housing, where persons have to come with their own land, either through permission or deed of gift. But the benefits are equally distributed across all 63 constituencies, with each constituency receiving 5 or so units per annum. And then there's the other modality, which is the relocation of vulnerable communities. So persons whose lives are in imminent danger will be given priority attention. You know that the government's role, one of the many roles that the government has, is to protect those who are most vulnerable in the society. And then for this one now, which is the modality that we're employing today, for which this groundbreaking will be had, is the upgrading of tenements. Some persons call it the big yards, but we want to call it the upgrading of tenements. You know, that sounds nice, not true? And so, to date, I want to let you know that since this program was conceptualized, we have delivered just under 300 units to persons. And I think that this deserves a round of applause. Thank you. And then we have, thank you so much, then we have 65 additional units that are to start and that will be completed before the end of this financial year. So the government is moving very quickly. Prime Minister has said to us, deliver the houses and deliver them at a quicker rate. So the houses are now taking 3 weeks, 4 weeks to construct, coming from months and sometimes even over a year. And so we are very pleased about the progress that we are making. And to this end, I thank Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Housing, for being the visionary type of leader that he is, as well as the very hard-working staff in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and of course our various partners that we liaise with. So let me just go over now, having set that background for you, to the details of this East Palms Housing Development. And you hear how nice it sounds? East Palms Housing Development. All right, so in July 2021, a 12-bedroom housing unit, home to about 13 individuals, including 3 families with 5 school-aged children and senior citizens, was completely destroyed by fire. And this fire was allegedly caused by arson linked to gang-related violence. As a result, all 13 residents, among them a 4-year-old girl, a 7-year-old boy, and a 17-year-old student, and several elderly persons were rendered homeless. The structure was severely compromised, with walls left cracked and partially collapsed due to the intensity of the fire. None of the household belongings was salvageable. And I just want to say to you that we are seeing an increase, an uptick in the number of persons, the fire victims. And I want to just encourage residents just to be more careful. You know, whatever it is that is causing the fires, it is really causing an impact in terms of our budget and all the other ills, children not being able to go to school on time and all of that. You know, hindering our progress and our economic growth when we continue to have these fires. So the candles, let that be a thing of the past, you know, and things like that. And so now, this project is under the upgrade of tenement or the big yards, as I've said to you previously. This project, we are breaking ground today, and it's just so, I feel so elated. I'm overwhelmed, you know, with emotions, because since the start of this year, and even before that, we have been having so many groundbreaking, you know, exercises. It's a testimony to the work that the government is doing and that it continues to do. Now, this new social housing program is not a political one. We don't look at colors when we are doing it. And so we don't want to be accused of being political, because the criteria are there and we undertake our jobs in a very, very transparent way. So this project, starting now in June, because it's not just groundbreaking, and in the past, you know, groundbreaking, and after a long time, you see any work happening, but very, very quickly, you're going to see work commencing here, because we expect that by December, and when I say by December, we are saying to the contractor, try to bring it to completion even before December. So the project involves the construction of 7 apartment-style housing units comprising 4 studios, 1 2-bedroom, and 2 3-bedroom units, along with the associated external works, which includes the walkways, sewerage, connections, plumbing, and electrical installations. I wanted to see a better picture of it, but just visualize with me. Just turn your eye and look. It's going to be a real proper thing. Because in fact, the houses that we are handing over, because we know that Jamaican people, them love nice things, not true? And so, when we hand over to you the things, it's not pure things. It's things that can stand up to the weather and all of that. None of our houses has been destroyed to date, and we give God thanks for that. So the project cost is just under 60 million, and we intend to contain our costs. And the contractor is S&G Road Surfacing Materials Limited. So we give God thanks. Indeed, it's a good day And thank you so much for your attention as we continue with this very, very important groundbreaking exercise. God bless you.
Thank you, Permanent Secretary Williams. Prime Minister, it seems like it would be very appropriate for me to say Merry Christmas on June 4 to the residents who will be beneficiaries already. The Permanent Secretary has said that she expects that the contractors, where are the contractors so I can look them in the eye, that she expects it will be completed by December. There you have it, an assurance. Thank you so much, Permanent Secretary Williams. You know, a telltale sign of love is when children rush to you. They don't know you from anywhere. Even if they see you, they just are drawn to you. You know, the Bible says, suffer the little children to come unto me. And I tell you, everywhere the Prime Minister goes, they rush to him and hug him. And now they also want to perform for him. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the students of Almontown Primary School, your community school, who will perform for us. All right, we'll take that right after. After the Prime Minister speaks, we'll have the student come up. No problem, because we'll want to make sure we're efficient as well. So, MP, I now lay hands on you, if you will. Please, ladies and gentlemen, may welcome your Member of Parliament for the wonderful constituency here, Kingston Central, Mr. Donovan Williams.
Miss Master of Ceremonies, Naomi Francis, Most Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, we're happy to have you in Central Kingston, sir. Now you have been with us for quite some time now, so we're just asking you to feel welcome and enjoy the wonderful constituency of Central Kingston. Ms. Arlene Williams, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Pastor Howard Smith, good friend of mine, North Street Seventh-day Adventist Church, where I worship from time to time. Where is Pastor Smith? You can confirm that, correct? Superintendent. Yes. Well, from time to time, we get the prayers. Correct, Pastor Smith? Superintendent Beresford Williams, Commanding Officer, Central Kingston Police Division. You have been with us from morning, and you have been doing a good job in the constituency in relation to the reduction of major crimes. Residents of Central Kingston, recipients, Miss Doreen Palmer, I see you there looking very beautiful. You know, you're looking as beautiful as the model we have over there. Wonderful. No, I just want to be very brief, you know. I just want to say, Prime Minister, I am so impressed with this social housing program. And I can see the smile on PS's face. You know, when you look at the structures that are being built, it gives you a sense of pride and satisfaction. You know, we cut ribbon, the PM cut ribbon early along with Mrs. Williams for 2 units. One at Rum Lane and the other at Northumberland in Franklin Town. And when you look at those units, you know, Madam PS, there's a little jealousy in my heart. The units are so wonderful. And when I come here today and look at this model of this multifamily unit, I can say that the ministry has been very consistent. No, some time ago, as Madam P.S. said, we had a fire here. It was rather unfortunate, and children, senior citizens, family members were left homeless. And so we had no choice, Madam P.S., but to apply to your ministry for some assistance under this program. And I'm just pleased and happy to say today, I'm just pleased to see that it has come to fruition, that construction will begin. And I just want to say to members of the community, and I side with you, Madam P.S., when you indicate that, you know, the fires and the destruction really put a strain on the budget. Because, and Central Kingston have been experiencing a lot of fires in recent times. And so I want to join you in imploring our residents to be very careful, to guard against these fires. Because when they happen, they create, they not only dislocate our residents, but they create, and I want to put it a bit, I can't put it in a better form, but they create a burden on the state, because the state has to find these resources to rebuild and to assist the residents, many of whom are not in a position to restore their homes. Many of them just can't do it. And so I just want to say thank you, Most Honorable Prime Minister. Thank you, Permanent Secretary Williams. Thank you and your team. And I just want to ask the residents to take care of this wonderful structure that will be built here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Williams. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the power of technology and social media is evident. I see most of you out with your phones recording this. But let me tell you that we're also streaming live on JS's YouTube page and the Prime Minister's social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Yes, we're on TikTok too. Right, Kim? On TikTok. There you go. And so Andrew Holness JM is where you'll find the stream. Share it with your family and friends so that they can see the good things that are happening here this afternoon. The Permanent Secretary said that over 300 units have been delivered so far under the Prime Minister's visionary program of the new social housing program. This program, I will tell you, if you take from Miss Lou and look at our own culture, it is the epitome of one cocoa, full basket. And when you're dealing with transformation, sometimes when you're in the midst of transformation, you can't see. But when you step back and look, you'll see the big picture. The Prime Minister is one who understands and can see the big picture, but takes us on the journey of the development to get to that big picture. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to share more of his thoughts and vision for you and the rest of Jamaica. Please help me welcome Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, your Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Naomi. Thank you for marshalling the ceremony so far. Allow me to acknowledge our Permanent Secretary, Arlene Williams, Member of Parliament, Donovan Williams, and of course, our pastor for preaching for us and verifying that the Member of Parliament actually goes to church. I am looking for representatives of S&G Road and Construction who are here. Good to see you. Members of the media, the benefiting family, and of course, the wonderful residents of Central Kingston who have come out to witness this very important day. It is always a privilege to stand before you at the start of something transformational. And you know what transformation is? You've heard that word used so many times. But I like to think of transformation as the change that a caterpillar goes through to become a butterfly. That is what transformation is. It is to change from being a caterpillar to being a butterfly. It's the same entity, but at the end of that process of transformation, a totally different being emerges. One that has greater capabilities. One that can now fly and potentially soar to new heights. And though everything is beautiful under God's creation, I could venture to say that the butterfly is more beautiful than the caterpillar. And so that is transformation. And so today, we are going to transform a yard that was destroyed by arson. We are going to transform lives that were destroyed in that fire, being deprived of somewhere to live, deprived of their furniture and their equipment and their clothing. We're going to transform the lives of children who were affected by this fire, where they had no place to study. We're going to be transforming a community that, by virtue of this act of violence and the destruction of the residents, the community would have been depressed. The value of the community would have been depressed. We're going to transform that. So today is a transformational day. So we are at 4 East Avenue in the heart of Central Kingston. We are 13 persons, including elderly residents and school children, lost everything in 2021 to a devastating fire. This would have been brought to the attention of the government by the Member of Parliament. We would have come, done our investigations, and made the necessary provisions to start construction. It is obviously a disappointment that it has taken so long. But it is happening. It is happening. And I am seeing this smile on the beneficiary's face, representing the family. You are obviously a woman of great patience. And that is a part of the government that we need to transform. The bureaucracy of government. The speed at which we get things done. Presently, we are laser focused on making sure that we have a high level of compliance with the rules. But that level of focus and compliance, though important, and though it must never be compromised, needs to also take into account that for 4 years, elderly persons, school children, and others were deprived of their homes and the benefit. So we are not saying that the public bureaucracy must not comply. I want to be clear, the public bureaucracy must comply with all the rules. From design, public investment, procurement, and contracting, we must comply with it. But you know what? We need to do 2 things. We need to look at all the rules that are in place and see which one makes sense. Because not every one of the rules that are there makes sense or actually serves a purpose. So we have to do what is called a transformation of the processes. In other words, they call that the business process re-engineering. We have to re-engineer the steps that are required for us to get to this point where we can break ground, because some of the steps don't make sense. And then we have to increase efficiency. We know the steps that have to be done, but they don't have to take so long. We have to work faster, because there is a 13-year-old child who is now going to be sitting CXC when at the time of the fire, they were just about going into grade 8 or 9. And without the house, without the comfort, their life chances are affected. So if it means that I do the paperwork a little faster, if I review the document a little faster, then that child can have a better chance of doing well at their CSEC. In other words, not only must the process perfect compliance, but the process must perfect compassion. It must, at the same time, it is fulfilling the duty of the letter. It must also fulfill the requirement of being service-oriented. And that is indeed the challenge that falls to my government. And a commitment that we have made, as we have said, we will transform the public bureaucracy to make it more functional, to make it more efficient, and to make it more responsive. So today is also transformational in the sense that the new social housing program will be fulfilling one of its modalities that we don't really use too often, and that is the construction and the redevelopment of what we ordinarily call in Jamaica big yard or tenement yard. One property where several households reside. A more elegant way to put it would be the multi-family housing solution. So we are now going to be building, I believe, 7 units here to cater to 7 distinct households, which we call a multi-family development. We have a few of those that we are scoping. We have another one coming for this constituency where we will be building 21 units. So this constituency is benefiting significantly from the new social housing program. And there is a reason why that is the case. Central Kingston is one of the areas which you could consider to be the early residential areas in Jamaica. And these areas were never informally settled. They were designed and planned. If you notice, you have proper roads, sidewalk, you have proper water mains, though they may be old and breaking now. Some areas are connected to sewer. You have proper electrification. So these are areas that are well established for residences. So they don't pose the challenge that we have to deal with. For example, where I went in a lovely district called Maho Hill in northern Clarendon, or in Shady Grove, or some other areas where the infrastructure is non-existent and the terrain, you know, only a sure-footed goat could manage to walk up those areas. And we have built in some really very difficult terrain because it is the only place that the land is available. Here, the contractors will smile. They won't complain because they don't have to pay extra labor to carry bags of cement on their back up hills, slipping and sliding when the walkway gets wet. I have walked on a few of them. Thank God I haven't slid on any. But we have built in some really very challenging environment. Right here is flat. It's, you know, near to the hardware, near to the quarry, near to the cement company. Everything is close by. And that is why one of the houses that we opened today, believe it or not, a 3-bedroom house, took 3 weeks to be constructed. 3 weeks. The contractor is here, Britalix, who did an amazing job in completing the unit in 3 weeks. So, you know, we all sometimes hear all kind of criticisms of local contractors. We have good local contractors who can do things efficiently. 3 weeks. But I also opened a house where I had to change contractor, and it took a year to complete. And the question would have been asked, why? If you could build it in 3 weeks, why would one of the houses take a year? You would have seen in the newspaper about housing taking a little while under this program to be built. Well, one of the considerations that contractors have to deal with is that when they come into some communities and they tally up their costs, there is an additional cost that they have to pay called security. Now, who they have to pay the security to, you know, is the person who created the insecurity in the first place. And then sometimes they come to work, they want to build, and they can't do anything because the laborers tell them, boss, me can't come here so because gunshot in my community and I can't come. And so the project stall. They carry material, they take a couple bags of cement and mix, and by the time they turn around, the material gone. They drop the steel, and they say, well, steel heavy, them man, they lazy, them not going to take away the steel. They come back the next night, they see a long trail on the street, them just draw the steel, gone with it. These are things that affect projects like this. We don't talk about it, the newspapers don't write about it, and they give an impression as if it is all inefficiency on the part of government and contractors. But these are issues that face communities like these, which increase the cost of the construction and the time it takes to construct. And we have to bring this to the public attention. And that is why I'm so happy that in this community we can report that those persons who would be involved in that kind of activity, that many of them are no longer around. Those persons who would have burnt down the house, those persons who would have deprived persons from getting their benefits, those persons who would have been constantly disrupting the peace, those persons who would have been extorting the works in the area, those persons who would have been stealing from the sites, those persons who would have been making your life a miserable hell. We don't miss them. We don't miss them. They are no longer with us. They are no longer around. But those who are here, I would say to you, don't try to follow the bad example that we have had to address. Right now, we are pointing the community in a direction of peace. And I can tell you, everybody prospers when there is peace. Let me say that everybody prospers when there is peace. Even the farmer bad man. He too will prosper when there is peace. Even the farmer gun-toting criminal, once he puts down his gun, he too can prosper once there is peace. Peace is beneficial for everyone. We are only able to do this, and we are able to predict that we will finish this in 6 months, because there is peace in this community. I urge the community members, everyone, to be wardens of the peace. You protect the peace. Don't let this peace that we have slip out of your hands again. The police are committed, they are working. They can only do half of it. The other half is up to you. So with these words of encouragement and reality, it gives me great pleasure to formally initiate the process of breaking ground and signing the $58.86 million contract to build these units. The architectural designs are lovely. It is going to raise the standard of this area, and I'm sure that other people who have lands around here will now start to look at their property and say, you know what? This is a place where I can start to reinvest. And that's what we want. We want people who own property in this area to say, let me try and do a little fixing up. Because once there is peace, people will want to come and pay rent and live here and have their businesses here. This is how you start to generate economic activity once there is peace. So, I invite you, therefore, to join me as we break ground and sign the contract. God bless you and thank you.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for those encouraging words and taking everyone on your journey of transformation. Very crucial. You know, you said something toward the end concerning how people, that aspirational view that you always talk about. Because the truth is that once this development goes up, the property value around should go up. That's a tangible evidence of the development that we're talking about. That once we start seeing improvements, the influence will come where others will want to improve as well. Give the Prime Minister another round of applause, please. Look here now. I always say, you know, that anywhere you go, you must always say thanks and give thanks. And there is zero tax or tariff on thanks. And the people of Central Kingston, I know, love to say thanks. There's a lady who reached long before the Prime Minister reached because she knows her stake in this property. She knows her stake and the benefit. And so, ladies and gentlemen, give your neighbor, your friend, Miss Doreen Palmer, a round of applause. She'll do the vote of thanks for us.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege and honor to be here this evening to give the vote of thanks on behalf of the Palmer's family. You know, I can never forget the 27th of July, 2021, when our lives turned for a difficult time. And during the past 4 years, I can speak of myself. I've been through hell and back when my home burned down. All that I have been through, finally, I can say to God, be the glory, great things that he has done. And this evening, I want to say thank you to the chair lady, Miss Naomi Francis, JP press secretary in the office of the Prime Minister. Also, I want to say thank you to Pastor Smith of North Street SDA Church. Also, Miss Arlene Williams, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Job Creation. Right? Thank you. Mr. Donovan Williams, MP. Who could ask for a better MP than Mr. Williams? Come on. Who could ask for a better MP than Mr. Williams? I don't care when nobody wants to say. Mr. Donovan Williams is the best ever MP for Central Kingston. The best ever MP for Central Kingston. And I can truly say, Mr. Williams, it's an honor to meet you, sir. Now I am down to the most honorable Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, ON, PC, MP, Prime Minister, and Minister of Job Creation. I want all hands to raise this evening. All hands, come on. He is the best ever Prime Minister that Jamaica had ever seen. And if we want progress, Andrew Holness is the way forward. If we want progress, Andrew Holness is the way forward. And I can proudly say, Mr. Andrew Holness, I thank you, sir. I lift my hands to you this evening in solidarity with you and your work and what you have been doing for the Jamaican people. You know, this morning when I got the call, yesterday even when Mr. Gordon called me and he said to me, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner. And when he called me, he said to me, Miss Palmer, you can't go work tomorrow, you know. You can't go work tomorrow. I said, what do you mean, Mr. Gordon? Him said, there will be groundbreaking tomorrow. I said, why you say? I'm a ball out, hallelujah! Yes! I said, thanks be to God, it's come to an end. No more up and down, finding place to live, going through all these trials and this tribulation. God answered prayer. It's long past, Prime Minister, but it's over. Soon and very soon, our problem, the Palmer family, will be together again. You know, every Sunday evening, I would remember my grandchildren, them would say, Grandma, me want smoothie. Even my 20-year-old grandson would say to me every we talk, Grandma, me miss coming to your house with smoothie. From your move, go and live at St. Catherine, we can't get no more smoothie. The food where you cook, because I am all the way in Bagwalk, St. Catherine, the family is all over the place. To God be the glory, great things he has done. The Palmer family will be back together again, as it ought to be. And I want to give thanks. Evening. Any other dignitaries that is here and your name has not been called, you're welcome here. But last but not least, I cannot leave out Mr. Barry Gordon. I would like to ask him to come on stage and join me here. Sir, please come on stage and join me here. This man is a tower of strength. It was a pleasure the first day I met this man when he called me and said to me, meet me by 4 East Avenue. And I come all the way from Bagwalk and I met this man. And when I got his number, let me tell you something, for the 4 years I called him and I say, what's up? And if I don't get this man and he see a missed call from me, this man is going to call me back and keep me informed of what is happening. And I can truly say, sir, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I must say thanks to everyone that is here this evening. Thank you for coming out to support the Palmer family. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Doreen Palmer, the beneficiary, giving the vote of thanks. And so now we are going to just set up the stage to do the signing, and then we move over to the groundbreaking element. The chairs will be moved. We ask the Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, who will just witness the document. The Permanent Secretary as well will be signing, along with the contractors S&G Road Surfacing Material Limited and other project partners, and of course the Member of Parliament, who will also be on stage doing the signing. You know, one of the wonderful things about projects like these in terms of dealing with transformation is that we do a renaming. You know, we don't give regular names. We give names that are aspirational, that uplifts the people. And so this project is aptly called East Palms. It gives a nice, very polished view of exactly what, you know, the aspiration is for the persons who will occupy the development. And so may I invite then the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Williams, who will sign, along with the Member of Parliament, the contractors, S&G Road Surfacing, if you could please just attend up onto the stage, and the Prime Minister will witness the signing of the contract as well. This project is about improving lives. And you know, despite what persons may say, again, I will say to you, one cocoa, full basket. One family at a time being impacted, it makes a big difference when you look at the overall picture. May I also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to give a round of applause to the civil servants, the public servants who work tirelessly to ensure that projects like these are implemented and that you, the people of Jamaica, are served in terms of ensuring that we have quality projects being undertaken by the government of Jamaica. And so Mr. Richard Cargill, the Senior Director, dealing with the new social housing program, is ensuring that the documents are all put together. We have Mrs. Judith Rob Walters, who is also here doing signing. The contractors, the MP, and of course the Prime Minister witnessing all of these. Again, ensuring that the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. He is observing, not witnessing. And so that's very crucial, because we want to make sure, Prime Minister, that as through the Permanent Secretary we've hinted, we must be complete by December. So the contractor already has a record under his belt. 3 weeks for one particular project. I think that's a record, sir. A different contractor. Well, let a new record. All right. All right. So there you go. Maybe it should be a competition among contractors. Who knows? Quality work for in the least amount of time. The Prime Minister has set the stage and thrown down the gauntlet for you. So we hope that you continue, contractors, to rise to the occasion with the quality and good work that you have been doing under the new social housing project. Once we're complete with this signing ceremony, we ask then that the Prime Minister, the Permanent Secretary, the Member of Parliament, the contractors head over to the groundbreaking area. They, of course, would have to get suited with hard hats and paraphernalia to ensure that we have the official groundbreaking. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you can celebrate with your neighbors, because it's a wonderful day here in Central Kingston. So just ensuring that all the documents are signed. They're signed in duplicate and triplicate sometimes. And Mr. Cargill is ensuring that all the pages are complete, put together. Well done. And of course, the seal and stamp of approval being done as well. All right, this seems like the final one. And then now let us do the customary handshake with the contract to signal the official document. And Ms. Palmer, that document says, you know, that yes, we're in business. It will happen. It will happen. All right, fantastic. Prime Minister has thrown down the gauntlet, and you know the contractor is taking you up on it, sir. So that is wonderful. And so please, if we could then just have an official handover, an official handshake, so to speak, with the document, the contractor, and everyone who is there. Wonderful. Thank you so much, S&G Road Surfacing Materials Limited. Really appreciate that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister will lead the team to do the official groundbreaking. In this photo, the beneficiary, Ms. Palmer, I believe you also should be in there breaking ground for this property. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, this shows that good things come out of bad situations. So there was a fire. People were distressed and distraught and displaced. And today we are celebrating with them because we will have something new that we can celebrate. So ladies and gentlemen, please join your neighbor, the Prime Minister, and the officials as we officially break ground for East Palms in Central Kingston, a multi-family housing unit that will house the 13 persons who are displaced by a terrible fire several years ago on this property. This is a commitment that was made by the Member of Parliament, that was made of the hope coming through, the transformation. The ashes will be shortly, and we will see a brand new building coming up. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause as we sign off from the live stream, but we continue to observe the groundbreaking ceremony for
Bargain. You want a demo? You want a demolition? No, no. No, you know? Hold on, Kevin. I'm making comment back.